Um, Hi, Jose. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
All right, so hi, my name's Jose Morales. I am 18. I'm a senior at Hannah Early College High School, and I'm all about space. That's my future. I want to say it is. I,
Definitely. And you live near Boca Chica, right?
yeah, so with the recent expansion of SpaceX here, it's pretty cool to see Starship go up every once in a while.
And you also participate in the settlement design competition, space settlement design
Yes.
competitions. I think that's what it's called.
Yes, so I was one of the first participants for the inaugural Space Settlement Design Tournament here held at in South Texas with Expanding Frontiers. And so essentially in the competition, you have a team and you want to design a settlement depending on an RFP. So the CEO, Anita Gale, she basically made it so it was like kind of realistic to the real thing. And it's really cool because it's a 3 day experience and it's like a competition sort of, or it is a competition. And you have 3 days and you have a company with the CEO, with the CEO being a like NASA professional, such as so in the About Space server, it would be like David Chevron. He was one of the CEOs I've had in the past. And in the competition, you design different space settlements or like launch pads and stuff like that. And it's like to scale. And you create like this big presentation for it, and you have to present it in front of all like the CEOs and stuff. And then there they like critique it, and then like they judge you, and then it's a competition, so you win first or second, right? And it's pretty cool because being part of that has kind of like affected my like path. So I was originally into just becoming a mech E, so just mechanical engineering, and then now I've transitioned sort of towards like an aerospace or an electrical engineer, and it's also led me to become a part of the NASA HASS program, so the High School Aerospace Scholars. And then from that, I also got to experience the NASA Moonshot experience, which is like another week long program in the summer, where there I basically did another space settlement design competition, but over a week's length time. And it was pretty fun, I would say, pretty eye opening.
That is amazing. But you mentioned that you were thinking about going strictly into Mechie, but now you're thinking about doing something else. I didn't quite understand what the other thing was. Is it Mechie plus something, or is it kind of
Oh,
like a
so
different?
like originally I just wanted to become like a mechanical engineer because that was like just the only thing in my foresight. And then going through these competitions, I saw, oh wow, aerospace engineering and just space in general is really interesting because it's so vast and we don't know everything about it. So through the competitions, I was able to grasp a knowledge of space and how it's developing and how that is going to be important in our future. So I want to say that it's kind of influenced me on what I want to become in the future.
That would be awesome. And you're like in the ideal place to do it. I mean, I think Brownsville is going to be like the gateway to the solar system,
Yes.
which is very surprising. You talk to somebody 20 years about that, 20 years ago about that, they would be very surprised.
Yeah, no, it's really weird because like maybe like a couple years ago, the closest thing I thought to space would probably be like NASA or JSC in Houston. So I thought that would be the closest thing. And then my engineering teacher, he used to work at Casio, but now he's a teacher at my high school. And he basically tells us about all the things going on in Bronzo and how Bronzo is actually becoming a very important place on the map in the sense that there's like 5 aerospace companies located here in the RGV, and like I had no idea that that was even happening. And obviously, SpaceX is a big part of that push. So yes, it's very cool to see that advancement here in Bronzo, in my home city.
And now I know about SpaceX, and I think everybody knows about SpaceX in Brownsville, but you said five. I can't think of a single other one. Do you know any of their names?
I know I don't, not off the top of my head, but I know they exist. But there's a few like in Harlingen and I want to say McAllen as well.
Wow. I mean, because I mean, you start having like the Starship flying like multiple times a day into orbit, and to the moon, and then every 2 years to Mars. I mean, I guess you're gonna have like all these space systems companies coming up to support it and take advantage of it.
Yeah. It's just really like kind of like mind for it to be here in Brownsville, like nothing happens here. Like I guess one of the main things would be the mall, but even the mall's dying. But now with SpaceX, it's like, oh wow, it's just this something new, something refreshing, I want to say.
Now, there's some people in the Rio Grande Valley that aren't excited about SpaceX being there. The people that are interested in like preserving the environment and
Yeah.
the impact on nature. I was wondering, how do you think about that? Having grown up there and um, probably more in touch with
With the
everybody.
yeah, honestly, I have mixed opinions about it because like it's cool to see all like the advancements SpaceX is making, such as the launch pad for Falcon 9 for it to be able to launch from here, which is amazing. And but then to think about it, oh, he's buying a lot of land that's protected and he's going to use it for advancements in space. Like it's kind of like 50-50. Oh yeah, so he's going to advance space, but like the environment is not going to be the environment is going to be affected by it drastically. And it's just something that I want to say that the new generation's more forward and opposed to like the older generation that grew up here and now they're like adults with children. So like my parents, my grandparents, they're like, oh look, it's Elon's taking away our beach. But it's just the thing that's like half and half. Personally, I think it's pretty cool that he's doing all this stuff, especially here, giving us the opportunity to work here and like kind of networking because surprisingly enough, I was actually able to go to on a field trip to SpaceX a couple weeks ago with my school, and we like looked at the facility, and it's just that was the first time seeing an environment like that, the where you see all these people working together collaboratively just to create something that will advance our future. So yeah.
And did you watch Tim Dodd's tour of the SpaceX facility that he
Yeah,
did?
I didn't finish it. I only got to the second part, but basically it was something like that, but not as extensive, and Mr. Musk wasn't there.
But you got to see like inside the high bay and inside those
Yeah,
tents and that type of thing.
so pretty much that interview, I got to experience that firsthand, and it
Oh,
was pretty cool.
it seemed very noisy on the
Oh, yeah.
what was it like actually being there in person? I mean, like, did you feel like vibrations and the beeping? I mean, like, how noisy was it?
It was like, well, obviously since we were students, they didn't give us hard hats, so we couldn't go into some areas, but we got to see most of it. And everywhere you could see somebody doing something. You didn't see anybody like slacking off. And like when you were outside the high bay and stuff like that, you could hear like the cars reversing and stuff like that of all like the trolleys and stuff. But when it came to like all the busyness, it was like, wow. Like, oh, they were telling us that like our tour guides, they're telling us, oh yeah, we're taking off a bit of our work to like give you guys a tour of what's going on.
It's probably good for them too. I know that a lot of people I talk to in the space industry, at some point it just becomes work for them, and like being able to give tours or talk to the public about it helps them to re-engage with kind of that inspirational uh, aspect of it and gives them more energy, I think.
Yeah, it becomes like something you have to do, not something you want to do. Yeah, no, I could see that. It's just it was really fun.
And also last Thursday you gave a presentation for the F4F space. Oh, can you talk a little bit about your presentation? Who was it to and what did you cover?
So, last Thursday I was a part of a like kind of like a conference where essentially our sponsor, our teacher, Mr. Javier Gonzalez, he's working with Expanding Frontiers like directly. So Expanding Frontiers was going to do a presentation on their way that they're giving back. It's like through the competition. So they wanted to explain that. So we had the CEO of Expanding Frontiers, which would be our founder, Dr. Frederick Genet. He was one of the main presenters. And then after that, another important figure, David Chevron, also presented. And then after that, we got to there was a group of students that got to present, and I was one of the students. So first they started off with like with collegiate students such as Jesus Guillen at UTSA, and then they began with the high school students because we've also been a part of that since the beginning of it. And in the interview, they wanted us to pretty much explain to them, to all like the different CEOs, they wanted to explain that how Expanding Frontiers has helped us and what it's done for us. Like for me, I stated that what Expanding Frontiers has done for me is pretty much opened my eyes. Like I didn't know what any of this was, and the stress of the competition. So in the competition, you have 3 days to design an entire space settlement. So whatever you think of, it has to be in there. So accommodations, a redundancy, what do you name it, and it has to be in there. Otherwise, you'll probably like lose points. So imagine doing all of that work in 3 days. So for example, every competition I've been in has been over. I've stayed awake for like 2 days straight. And this previous competition, I was the president of our company actually, and I was awake for more than 2 days, and it was, it's not, it was like I don't know how to explain it. It was eye-opening to see how much work goes into what needs to be done to be completed through a certain time frame. So we had to explain how that has affected us and how what they provide to us here in South Texas. Because here in South Texas, we don't really get anything besides when it comes to STEM. So recently, that's become more of a focus in my school district specifically. That's why I've been able to been a part of different programs such as TSA, which is a Technology Student Association. First Robotics, I was a chief engineer, part of Vex Robotics, part of Green Power USA. So that push has helped me become a better person, and I want to say engineer.
Yeah, no, it's really amazing. It sounds like, I mean, you're in your senior year of
Yes, sir.
high school, and you already have a portfolio.
Yeah, I've worked on a lot of projects. Oh, and in addition to the Space Settlement Design Competition, I was also a part of the Space Settlement Entrepreneur Competition, and that's where we had to design like our own company that provided like subcontractors for the people doing in the space design competition. So yes, I would like to say I'm very accomplished in high school. Hopefully to continue on in college.
Any ideas where you might want to go to college?
um Preferably I would like to attend Rice University, and also UT Austin, as well as Georgia Tech and UTSA.
Are you familiar with the Rice? I think it's called what, the Rice Space Center or something. David Alexander is the head of it, but it's like the Rice Space Institute. That's what it's called.
No, I'm not.
And they have during the school year, they have monthly meetings that are open to the public where they invite a guest speaker. I think in December they're having the CEO of Intuitive Machines come and talk. They're planning to put a probe on the moon next year as part of NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. So I'm kind of excited to see that talk. But yeah. But I hope you come to Rice. That'd be great. Then you could come to the North Houston Space Society meetings we have every month.
I'd be honored to attend.
That would be great. Um, so when did you find out that NASA is planning to send astronauts to the moon for the first time since 1972?
Probably through the Artemis program. So from the HASS program, basically the HASS program is all about Artemis. So from there, we had to do various amounts of research, and probably that was one of the topics that came up. So it would probably be last summer.
And what do you think about it?
Honestly, it's pretty cool to hear that it's happening again, happening in my lifetime. Because what are the chances it happens? It doesn't happen in my lifetime, very high. So it's pretty cool to hear that it's happening now, as opposed to when I'm probably dead.
And I mean, we could have the next astronauts walking on the moon before you graduate from college.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal because like one of the main things that was going on through my head in that Artemis program was that some of the kids that I'm around might actually be the next astronauts, and I'm working with them. So it's kind of, oh, it's like wow.
It's kind of interesting. Since the time you've been alive, there's not been a single day there wasn't somebody in space in orbit around the Earth on the International
Yeah.
Space Station. By the time you have children, it may be in their lifetime, they won't know a day that there wasn't somebody on the moon.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I had never thought of it like that. I had thought of like, oh yeah, that there's always somebody in space, but not somebody that's always on the moon.
And by their children's, by the time they have children, there may
On
not be a
Mars.
exactly.
Yeah, that's weird. That's wow.
And then their children's children might actually be on their first trip to another star. Uh, anyway, it'd be quite a legacy.
Yeah.
So well, not everybody's excited about us going back to the moon. Some people are like, hey, we have so many problems here on Earth. Why are we sending astronauts to the moon? And I was just wondering, how do you think about that?
Um, I want to say that it's a it's a conflicting topic, definitely. It's kind of hard to like, oh yeah, you're just going to space to abandon what you have here and start something new. But honestly, you also have to like you do have to work on the problems here, but you have to advance, keep going forward. You can't just stay in one place. So by advancing people onto the moon, I think that'd be a great thing because we're still moving forward. Um, and the moon is a interesting place. It's quite different as opposed to Earth. So adapting to these different conditions also like presents its own challenges. So I guess people, the argument to be made would be that, oh, you're just making more work for yourself. But as humans, we are made to overcome these challenges. So I think it's a great idea.
And did you watch the Netflix documentary about Inspiration 4?
Oh no, I don't have Netflix.
Oh, okay. Well, they did some clips of an interview with Elon Musk in the first episode, and he's like, I think, 99% of our resources, or even greater than 99% of our resources, should be spent on solving problems here on Earth, but we should be spending something on expanding humanity. And I thought that was, like, an important thing
Yeah.
to make.
No, definitely. Like it shouldn't just be focused here. We have to like make a like kind of like a balance. Like obviously you have to prioritize here because there's more people living on Earth than there is on Moon, but you still have to make advancements towards it. So it could happen, which it probably will in the next few years.
Now, about 500 years ago, we had the Europeans come over to North America, and begin that trickle of kind of migration, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, if we look out 500 years, um, so much has changed in the past 500 years, but what does humanity look like 500 years from now?
Oh, that's a good question. It's honestly, I wouldn't know because it's like you have to consider so many factors coming into that. So how advanced will cars be? How advanced will our humans be? What will be our adaptations to new conditions? Uh our food, how well does food production go? Global warming, if that actually continue or if it continues to for the heat to rise, how does that affect us? So how does that affect us in 500 years? So I would say that in 500 years time I would like to say an advanced civilization, but not necessarily too advanced where we consider ourselves aliens. More
Uh,
like a civilization that's accustomed to their conditions and environment.
Do you think there's people who just think of Earth as just being another place that humanity is, and it isn't quite, they don't think of Earth as being home?
Um, let's hold on. Let me think about that one. Do I think people think Earth is just a place and not necessarily their home?
Because,
Uh,
they lived up in Mars and they've never been to Earth. They're like, yeah, I know there's humans on Earth. And I know that's where my ancestors came from, but, you know, uh, it doesn't really have any attachment to me,
Yeah, it's just like the place you happen to be born on and have lived your most of your life. Um, there probably is people that just think that, oh yeah, Earth is just Earth. It's not anything special. It's just a place that I walk on, live on, eat on, breathe on. So yeah, there is definitely people like that. Just think Earth is not necessarily their home, just it's just a planet in the solar system.
So if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
If I was able to go to space,
If it was safe and affordable, yeah.
yes, of course. Of course I would.
How far would you go? Just orbit, or you go to the moon, or would you consider immigrating to
Honestly,
Mars?
honestly, lunar exploration is pretty cool. Mars exploration is even cooler. So if I had the opportunity to go explore Mars myself, I would probably take the chance. I don't think my parents would be too happy with it, but I think I would take the chance.
Um, yeah, I mean, the thing about going to Mars right now, it seems so difficult. I mean, it's like taking a 5-year trip to like the tallest mountain and staying there for a couple of years and then coming back. I mean, it's like really,
Yeah, because
really
you
kind of,
can't think of it as just like, oh, a getaway trip. It's a commitment. You're gonna take five, like, oh, usually most people just think about, oh, it takes 5 years to get there, but they don't think about, oh, it takes 5 years to get back. So when you think about it, you're spending 10 years of your lifetime traveling between planets. So you really have to consider whether or not you really want to do this, because you're wasting probably like a tenth of your life just on a spaceship cruising at, like, I want to say, a good speed. um yeah, so I would say it's more of a commitment than just like I want to go to Mars, so they just go.
I see this interview and the collection of interviews as a part of as being sort of a time capsule for people 100 years from now to look back at humanity and say, what was humanity thinking before we took those next steps on the moon? And is there anything that you think would be important for them to know or that they would find interesting? That
um I would want people in 100 years to know that right now space is such an unknown place that it just makes us want to go further into it. Um, and probably at 100 years from now, you're probably gonna know what those unknowns are, but right now we don't know. So that's what just brings an urging fire to different people, a lot of people, that makes us want to go explore that. So that probably for you in the like in 100 years, you would probably already know this stuff. But for us, it's just mind bending to think about. Yeah, no, let's just take a trip to the moon very quickly and we'll come back. But for us, it's just a lifelong achievement. Last time it happened, well, for me, it wasn't even in my lifetime. It was 40 years or 30, yeah, 40 years before I was even born. And now that it's happening now, as I'm becoming an adult, and I might be able to even work on some of these projects that will go towards that. It's just really amazing to hear that. It just sounds amazing.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Did you have any questions for me or anything else that you wanted to discuss?
Um, I do have a question for you. What made you want to do this?
Okay. Um, so there's a story. Have you ever heard of a guy by the name of Doug Laverio?
No, I have not.
Okay, so back in 2019, NASA has gotten the direction to get astronauts on the moon by 2024. And so they hired Doug Laverio as being the associate administrator for the Human Exploration and Operations Directorate, which Artemis falls underneath. And he had a lapel pin with the number of days to the end of 2024 that he would update every day. And he was highlighting a NASA person a day that was contributing to us getting to the moon. And I'm like, I had been working at home for 2 years back then. It sounds funny working from home now. So many people work from home. But back then in 2019, not that many people were working from home. And I realized I wasn't getting out of the house for like weeks at a time. So I thought this project would be a way to kind of connect with people in person. And then COVID happened. So that was kind of funny. Um, but that's kind of how it started. The why I've been trying to figure out for a while. I mean, it's a personal development project. It's a time capsule. It's a chance to connect with other people. Um, and it's also something that's got started far enough that I feel like I have to complete.
Yeah, no, just the thought of this idea was very interesting because I sort of briefly read the website that you had on and the calendary and what it was about. And I was like, what made him think of this exactly? How does he benefit from this? And now that you talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, you get to talk to people, different people, and like probably similar mindedly about these things and also not similar mindedly and find different opinions about these things that might be controversial and how different people see it. Like me, I am from Brownsville, Texas, where nothing happens, and now that this space industry is booming here, it's just mind-boggling and I'm very much invested in it. However, there's people like in Houston, like, oh yeah, that they completely normalized to it. So when you interview somebody from there, it's like, yeah, no, it's there. It's just it's whatever. Just go on with my daily life. And with that, that probably like influences their opinions on different things. So me, probably you could say I'm like biased, but other people you can say they've been truly influenced by what's around them, and it's just interesting to hear different opinions. And also those questions that you brought up made me think, and I haven't been able to think in a while.
Well, one other thing that we didn't touch on was this Wednesday, Inspiration 4. I was wondering if you were looking forward to that flight, if it somehow you feel more connected to that than maybe other trips.
um Honestly, I try to keep up with all the launches and stuff, but school is just a lot. So I no, but I want to say yes.
But I feel a little bit more connected to it because one of the seats was given away in a sweepstakes. So like in February, if you donated to St. Jude's, then your name was entered into a pot, and they picked out a name, and he gets, or it would have been a he or a she, but in this case, it turned out to be Chris, is going on this trip to space, and I was just like, oh, that could be me. But I've seen the Netflix documentary, and he seems like a really cool guy. I'm like, I don't think I'd be nearly that cool, so I'm like, I think it was better him to go. But so I don't know. That kind of made me feel a little bit closer. It's like I was just one random number away from
Yeah, you're just
getting.
one pick away from being able to be on that flight and being on that documentary. Yeah, seems very surreal. That could have been you.
And this would be the first completely private mission. Like there's no, like they're not going to the International Space Station. There's no NASA astronauts on board. There's no Russian astronauts on board. It's just SpaceX, a billionaire, and 3 people you chose. One of which is a childhood cancer survivor from St. Jude's, who's like a nurse at St. Jude's. So that's
Oh
really neat.
wow.
And another
Yes.
one is like a science teacher in Phoenix, Arizona, you know, so that's really big about space. So that's just kind of neat. That's like it's happening. I
Yeah.
think you and I will really get to go to space.
Yeah. Especially in our lifetime, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And if you know of anybody else, I need to somehow make connect with 1,204 more people over the next 1,204 days.
There's definitely a lot of people. I can send them your details and tell them about what you're doing, because I'm pretty sure they would also be interested in what you're doing and definitely would want to participate.
That would be fantastic. Well, you have a good evening, and hopefully someday I'll see you in Brownsville for maybe the first orbital test flight
Yes,
of
sir.
Starship, and then uh, it'd be great if you came to Rice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good evening then.
All right. Thank you.
Bye bye.